Hey everybody, I'm sorry that I can't be with you, so I'm recording this in my makeshift basement studio. The tune that we were going to talk about in class, specifically the harmonies, Wayne Shorter's Fi Fo Fum. So I've recorded myself playing piano and talking through the chords, and I included some subtitles so that you can hopefully catch it. And if you don't have the chord changes to the tune, I'm basically using what's in the Real book, or if you have iReal Pro on your phone, which I think most of you do, those are the good chord changes. Those are the same chord changes that we're using. So I'll let you watch this video, and then at the conclusion of the discussion with the piano playing, I'll have some insights to share. Okay, so here's just a little run through of the chords kind of slowed down for Wayne Shorter, Fi Fo Fum. So we start with an E flat 7 chord, which resolves down by a half step to D7 flat 9. And that D7 is the 5 chord of G minor. So that's the first tonicization point that we hit in this progression. So let's do it again. So this is like E flat 7 is acting like a sidestep 5 to the true 5 D7 of G minor. So here we go. Here's our E flat 7, D7 flat 9 to G minor. Now the G minor then resolves upward to A flat major. And then we have this interesting reference to giant steps, where we go up a minor third to B major 7, and then up a minor third to D7, and then we do this 2-5. D minor 7, G7. So let's do the whole progression. E flat 7 to D7 flat 9, G minor 7, A flat 7, B major 7, D7, D minor to G. So the second A section is basically the same for the first 4 bars. We have our sidestep 5 of G minor to our true 5 of G minor to G minor 7, goes up again to A flat major. Now this time, instead of that little giant steps reference, we're actually going to go and tonicize B flat 7. So we're going to go C7 flat 9 to F7 to B flat 7. So I'll play that all one more time. Now we can argue that that B flat 7 really is sort of home base, as if it was a blues, right? So then we have this little blues section here that happens in the middle, where we go from, so we just ended the A section on B flat 7. Then we're going to go to E flat 7, just like we had at the top of the form. Except this E flat 7 is now really functioning as the 4 chord of a blues, whereas at the top of the form it's functioning as a sidestep 5 of G minor. So it's kind of an interesting sort of, use of this E flat 7 as a pivot between two different kinds of progressions. So here we have 2 bars of E flat 7, and then 2 bars of B flat 7. It's just like a blues. Then we go back to our E flat 7. And then we're going to do this little 2/5 sequence, where first we're going to do B flat minor to E flat 7. So, and then we're going to do A minor to D7. And that's going to resolve back to the top of the last A section, which is back to that E flat 7. So we could make an argument that the last 2 bars of this little bridge could be a sidestep 2/5 sequence that helps us to go back and tonicize the E flat again, or we could say that it's really this A minor to D7 is taking us back to G minor, which is the original tonicization target point, right, in the A section. So here's that whole bridge again. So we have 2 measures of E flat 7, like a 4 chord, and then to the B flat 7. Back to the 4 chord, and then we've got our B flat minor to E flat 7, and then down a half step, and then we return. And this first half of the last A is the same as the top of the tune. So it goes E flat 7, D7 flat 9 to G minor, up to A flat, and then we do our little giant steps reference where we've got B major to D7, and then we do the 2/5, D to G. And then we have this last bit, the last 4 bars, which is really kind of slick. We go back to the E flat 7, and we go down a half step to D7 flat 9, just like every other time, except this time, instead of resolving to G minor, we're going to continue going downward. We go to a D flat major 7 chord, and we continue going down chromatically to C7 flat 9, and then we end up resolving, and the last chord is this, B major 7. So if we want to argue that this tune is in B flat blues, right, if the tonic is really this B flat, it's almost as if we've gone to like a Neapolitan chord here, right? A half step above. So instead of landing on our 1 chord, we land here on this B major 7 chord. It's really kind of cool. And of course, there's also a precedent in the tune for being a half step above the tonic point, because it happens right away in the top of the tune where we go E flat to D to G minor, and then we go up a half step above G minor to this A flat, which is very much related to going from B flat to the B major 7 chord. So hopefully that made sense. My original feeling about this tune was that it was basically a B flat blues, and that there was some sort of interesting chord changes at in the A section, but it was basically a dance around a B flat blues. Well, when I started analyzing it for our class, it had never occurred to me before that starting E flat 7 chord is functioning as a subdominant to the G minor, right? So it goes E flat 7, which is a half step above D7, and then D7 becomes the 5 chord of G. And then suddenly my head kind of exploded, and I went, oh my God, is this tune in G minor? All this time I thought it was in a B-flat blues? Well, I don't think that it's in G minor, but I do think that the E-flat chord is operating in two different ways depending on where it is in the tune. In the beginning, it's definitely acting as the sidestep 5 that comes down to the 5 that resolves to G minor, which is, of course, the relative minor, right, to B-flat. And from there, we do that move from G minor up to A-flat major, which is kind of like a Neapolitan chord, right? Well, it's not kind of like a Neapolitan chord. It is a Neapolitan chord. And then we have this giant steps reference where we go B major to D7. Now, I remember when I was a younger guy, I thought, oh, that's just, he's just quoting giant steps. It didn't occur to me until our friend Adam Larrabee, our guitar professor, pointed out that Fi Fo Fum is what the giant says. And if this is a reference to giant steps, and of course, at this time, Wayne Shorter, like everybody else, would have been, dealing with Coltrane the Giant, right, and his giant steps. So it seems to me pretty clear that this could be a reference to giant steps, and the title is a reference to Coltrane the Giant and his giant steps. And also, this is in the key of giant steps, right? So we're in B flat major, but we've got this, B major little giant steps quote in there. So we get through this A section, if we call it an 8-bar A section, which is basically a binary form where we have 4 bars and then another 4 bars where the last 2 bars of each 4-bar phrase have a different harmony. So in the first 4-bar section, we have the sidestep 5 to the 5 to the relative minor, and then up a half step, that Neapolitan motion. And then we have our little giant steps reference and a 2-5, a substitute 2-5, right, that takes us back to E flat. So we would normally expect a 2-5 to E flat to go F minor to B flat 7, right? And that would take us to E flat. But in this case, we've got D minor 7 to G7, which is a minor third away. D is a minor third below F. So we've got a 2-5 that's a minor third substitution. So then it goes back and it does the same thing again with the E flat 7, D7 flat 9, G minor 7, A flat major 7. And then it goes 5 of 5, C7 flat 9, to 5, F7, to the blues tonic of the tune, B flat 7. So then we get to the middle section of the tune. It functions very much like a B flat blues. It goes 4 chord, 1 chord, 4 chord. The way that the guys improvise on it, it very much sounds like, oh, okay, this is a blues. My friend Andrew Bishop at the University of Michigan commented that Boulez would have these forms that he called parenthesis. And I love the idea that this form has a parenthetical blues in the center of it. Even though perhaps the blues is the most important part of the tune, but it's sort of kind of floating there in the middle of this A section that has much more dense and rapid harmonic movement. So we go from this, kind of density of chords, kind of giant stepsy, right? And then it relaxes with this blues and lets everybody kind of let loose. We return to the A section. The first 4 bars are the same. The last 4 bars of the tune, we have this purely chromatic motion. We go E flat 7, D7 flat 9, D flat major 7, which is a tritone away from the G minor that we would have gone to before, and then down to C7 flat 9, and then down chromatically again to B major. And B major has that Neapolitan relationship to our B flat blues tonic, if you want to think about it that way. B major is also the first chord in giant steps. And I'm not saying that's an overt, purposeful reference, but it is an interesting thing to point out. So I hope this gives you some things to think about, and make sure that you go back and listen to Wayne Shorter's original recording of Fi Fo Fum. And I look forward to our discussion.